Salty Paws is on the St. Lawrence River approaching Quebec City. Quebec City has 20-foot tides, and because of that, there's a lock to get into the marina. In Quebec City, Molly's place in Salty Paws will be taken up by my friend Dick Klain. Here we are eating with his wife Ellen, who is also celebrating a birthday. Dick and I got off to an early start the next day. It was high tide, so we could go through the lock in the open position. And one of the first sights we saw when we got back in the St. Lawrence was Mount Morenci Falls. We are now approaching the mouth of the Saguenay River, home to countless numbers of whales. Those white specks are a pod of belugas. 35 miles up the Saguenay River is Bay Eternité, one of the most dramatic anchorages anywhere. Dick left me here while I continued up and over the mountain to see the statue of the Madonna, erected over 100 years ago, paid for by a traveling salesman who had fallen through the ice and prayed that he would survive. If you look closely, you can see the Madonna on top of the first hill. We then headed back down the Saguenay River to the Tadoussac Marina and enjoyed the tourist town. After 2 days in Tadoussac, we took off hugging the north coast, going all the way up to Baie de la Trinité. We had our best view of belugas as we crossed the St. Lawrence to its southern shore and came to Saint-Anne-des-Monts. Dick drew the short straw and had to get gas. I went to the grocery store, continuing purchasing the fine food that we've been eating all this trip. From here, Salty Paws continued to head east, stopping in Madeline because of high winds and following seas. The next day, we continued our easterly route and finally approached the end of the Gaspé Peninsula. We were told that the weather changes here, and boy, was that the case.
Lord Perce Rock.
We decided to seek a safe harbor. We found a safe harbor in Anse aux Beaufils. Fenderboard, however, was required as this is a commercial port. This was a great stop, not only because of the ice cream nearby, but also the harbor master here in the middle, who gave us a ride into Perce the next day to take the ferry. Everyone should take the ferry to Ile Bonaventure, home of the largest gannet colony in North America. And also, it takes you by picturesque Perce Rock. Ile Bonaventure is only a mile or so offshore, and it's a 3-mile hike across the island to the gannet colony, which is not to be missed. Gannets live for roughly 25 years. They mate for life after 5 years and come back to the same nesting spot each year. And each of these nests are within 2 feet of each other. Ile St. Bonaventure has roughly 45,000 nesting pairs of gannets. Baby gannets seem as large as the adults because of their fluffy feathers. Two days later, we left for the 2-day journey to Carleton-sur-Mer to meet Jacques Thibault, his wife Mimi, and their good friend Michelle. Jacques has a Rossboro. We met on the Rossboro site, and he doesn't speak any English. What a wonderful time we had with them. They invited all their friends and neighbors to greet us at a corn-on-the-cob meal with hot dogs. It was wonderful. They treated us to breakfast. And Michelle even drove us the next day with his car to the top of the local mountain where we could overlook the harbor. We then spent 3 days with them cruising the New Brunswick shoreline and went into places we couldn't have gone without that local knowledge. The Acadian flag is very prominent in New Brunswick, particularly the northern and eastern parts of it, which is essentially 100% French. It's on boats, flagpoles everywhere, and you can see the boats, which are mostly lobster boats. It's off-season, and only have a 60-day season, but they seem to be doing pretty well because everything was in great condition. One of the places that Jacques took us to was Tracadea. The nautical chart doesn't even show that you can get there by boat, but we did and had another great time. We then visited Reachubuktu. Here, Michelle hitched a ride back to their home port to get the trailer where they would pull out, and we continued to head south. Conditions began to worsen. As we approached Confederation Bridge, conditions got even worse than what's pictured here. We sought a harbor refuge at Cape Torrentine. The man-made harbor is slowly disintegrating, but it protected us well. And in fact, after a couple of hours, conditions improved so much that we decided to take an early evening run to PEI, where we arrived just as the sun was going down. We started the next day with a wonderful breakfast. Later that day, Molly and Ellen joined us for a wonderful 3 days on PEI. At the entrance to PEI National Park, we met a Mi'kmaq elder who was actually born in Maine and takes seriously his task to educate non-Indigenous as well as Indigenous peoples to their history, including their moose call. The beautiful park has the largest floating ramp I've ever seen. After our wives departed back to the States, Dick and I stayed another couple of days in Charlottetown because of the weather. Finally, we were able to depart and did almost 100 miles to arrive near the entrance to the St. Peter's Canal and Cape Breton and the Brador Lakes. As is so often the case with Rossboroughs, Mike and Melissa Reed were there to greet us as we entered the St. Peter's Lock. Here we met up with Otto Kyler on Vega and Rob Russell on Sea Hag.
There we go. Yep.
2, 3. Oh! Hello. Hey.
The Brador Lakes are a great cruising ground and highly recommended for anybody. We traveled across the main part of the lake to Betic. We spent a couple days at the marina there for my boat to be serviced and also visited the Alexander Graham Bell Museum, a wonderful place to visit and to admire all his inventions, including the use of hydrofoils on both boats and later on airplanes. We then traveled northeast out of the lake and up the Cape Breton coast to Ingonish.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
we decided to check out the Cape Smoky ski area.
All right.
Les bateaux, les bateaux.
Now, Bill.
Would do it. If I could get her to come, I would do it.
Couldn't get the white, but we'll find out.
That's great.
We departed at dawn for Newfoundland. Our Newfoundland landfall was at Rose Blanche and Harbor Lac.
Water is warm.
Ready? We cruised to the closed outport of Grand Bret, met by a former resident who visits there each summer. We took a dip in the lake above the waterfall, made brown with the tannins in the water. Next, we went to remote Culotte Bay. Notice the caribou on the side.
Your whole career. Oh God. One more. Well, give credit. The dinghy wasn't where it is. This might be.
Dirt. Yeah. We're now cruising to Ramia, an island about 8 miles off the coast. Its population has dropped from 1,200 to 400, and it may just be a matter of time before they close as well. Fortunately, the people were most friendly and helped us with every one of our needs.
Get over on the dirt road.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Otto.
We left Ramia to visit 4 different fjords, beginning with Grey River.
Let me get a picture of this beautiful view here.
Population 170. The next stop was Lahoon Bay and Dead Man's Cove, one of the most dramatic anchorages in Newfoundland. From there, we cruised to Averon Bay with its 1,200-foot waterfall. The difference between the fjords was quite dramatic. This was so green. And we finally left Averon Bay to go to Francois, the last outport and the easternmost point.
True, this is like out of a fucking. Those aren't that spring line.
Francois is the most dramatic outport, yet its population has now dropped to 40, with only 3 or 4 kids in the local school, all teenagers. It's thought to be a matter of time before this outport also closes. This is our one-day weather. Rob's decided to go in Sea Hag to Port aux Basques and take the ferry, and Otto and Vega and Dick and me on Salty Paws will cross today. We have no pictures, but we arrived at Little Brador Lake at 10:30 at night, and fortunately could wrap up to a fishing boat for the night. Dick and I said goodbye to Otto and St. Peter's, and we proceeded south back to Maine.